The Panthers jumped out to a fast start in Toronto over the weekend, and well, they did not look back in a game that, yes, maybe wasn't better for the Florida Panthers to win if you look at the lotto standings, but a win over the Toronto Maple Leafs, Atlantic Division rival, always feels as good as it would even in the playoffs. What's up, Florida Panthers Daily? I'm AJ Sheridan back here with you on Monday, April 13th. You hear it in my voice a little bit. Well, if you're from South Florida, if you're a Panthers fan, you know about the elbow room. You know about the parades on Fort Lauderdale Beach. And well, over the weekend, Tortuga Music Festival happened. And well, it was a dang good time. Saw Kenny Chesney last night. Saw Riley Green on Saturday. And it was a blast. If it's your first time here on Florida Panthers Daily, we go every single day, Monday through Friday. So go ahead. Please hit that subscribe button down below. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, a 5-star review. We couldn't do any of this without you. So you're subscribed down below. Comments. We're responding to the comments here throughout the offseason as the Panthers move in. Fast forward, if you will, move into an offseason. We're going to need some topics to hit on. So whatever you want to hear about the Florida Panthers, go ahead and comment that down below here on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It does more than you know for us here on Florida Panthers Daily, part of the Fan Arch community. We go Monday through Friday. Again, was just at Tortuga Music Festival over the weekend, so was having a blast. If you hear it in my voice, a different background than we're used to. I'm not in my usual setting, but we got some Panthers hockey to talk about because the Panthers jumped out to a lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs just 23 seconds into the game. Andrew Sheridan, 23 seconds into the game, jumped out to an early lead. Then Tarasov was big in between the pipes in this one north of the border. He's been playing pretty good here as of late. Again, most of the year, I kind of thought he was our better goaltender. Was surprised maybe in some of the times Sergei Bobrovsky was starting, but it's Sergei Bobrovsky. You're never going to doubt him. And then the Panthers would jump out to a 2-0 lead. It was challenged. It was upheld. So the Panthers would jump out to a 2-0 lead, get a power play. Later on, go on. Thomas Nosek took us up to a 3-0 lead for the Florida Panthers. You had Panthers picking up their first points in Toronto. It looked almost like a preseason lineup. If you were the Florida Panthers, looking at some of the names, they're going, who are these guys? Well, that's the way the Florida Panthers season has been. I mean, the Leafs put up a fight as you expect them to, at least for a little bit. They would make it 3-2. Nylander cut it to 3-2, and then again, it was Tarasov in between the pipes playing good. At the end of the second period, the Panthers were out shooting the Toronto Maple Leafs 15-11, and then we switched to the third period. The teams went back to the dressing room, and I don't know what Paul Maurice said. I don't know if the Leafs kind of said, yo, we need this top 5 pick from the Boston Bruins if we're going to keep building things here in Toronto. I don't know what it was, but the Panthers would jump on them and jump on them often in the third period. Mackey picked up his 5th goal in his last 8 games to make it 4-2. And from there, well, it was just pure domination. Tarasov shut down Tavares on the breakaway. AJ Greer got an empty netter to make it 5-2. And then E2 Lusterin and Mackey Semiskevich, each with 3-point games for the Florida Panthers over the weekend. That game was on Saturday night, and it was a fun one. Again, Riley Green was going on Saturday night. But after the game, Paul Maurice said, that's as good as we can play with the guys we have. We played our butts off. I'm really proud of them. Again, that's not a shot at the guys that are in the lineup right now for the Florida Panthers. But you look at it top to bottom. If you're a casual fan, well, that's why you're here on Florida Panthers Daily, because we tell you everything Monday through Friday. You don't know the names. I mean, Paul Maurice literally said, that's as good as we can play with the guys we have. Shout out to Coach. You know he's been blunt. He tells you how it is, and he gave that to us Saturday night after the game. Some of the debuts, that was awesome. Just being around everyone, being part of this, winning the game as well. It's awesome, really fun. And we focused on that here on Florida Panthers Daily. These players that are coming in from Charlotte, they're bringing them up. You're mixing and matching. They all have one thing in common after the game. They all say that was really fun. Being around everyone. It felt like I was part of it, and I've only been here for 24 hours. And that is the culture Bill Zito, Paul Maurice, Matthew Tkachuk, even Brad Marchand, Barkov, guys who are out, have built here in South Florida. There's something about a winning culture. And that's really what this is. We'll get into that later on more throughout the week because, again, the season is starting to wrap up. So we'll look at the culture, the DNA, some of the guys that missed this season. But Noshek talked about after scoring his first 2 goals after his long rehab, he said it's been a roller coaster season. I think he's talking about himself, but also the team. He said, in tough times sometimes, it was a long time without the games. You're wondering what's going to happen when you come back. I'm just happy I did it before the end of the season. Again, the Panthers only have 2 games remaining in this 2026 season. We'll look forward to those in just a bit here on Florida Panthers Daily. But you got to mention Tarasov. I mentioned the big saves he had last night. He said, huge win for the new faces on our team. We set a tone right away. Again, you go back to that message of new faces, but we're all one unit. And that's what the Florida Panthers have been so special at over these last 3 years, even the last 2 years where you win 2 Stanley Cups, but the last 3 years where you win 3 Eastern Conference Finals. Now, we've talked about back-to-back. I've been relating to golf here on Florida Panthers Daily because last week we focused on all the Florida Panthers that play golf, follow golf, are involved with golfers. And, well, Rory McIlroy did yesterday what the Florida Panthers did last season. In a historic kind of turn of events, the team that was never going to win a Stanley Cup, the Florida Panthers. The event Rory McIlroy was never going to win the Masters. What do both of those teams and players have in common? They shut up the haters and they go back to back. The Panthers never going to win a Stanley Cup. They win back to back. Rory McIlroy, can he get over the burden of winning at Augusta? What does he do? He goes and wins again yesterday. And I mean, what a tournament it was. I was following it on my phone, but the comparisons. Augusta was kind of the crown jewel that he wasn't able to conquer. And then you look at the Panthers. You're facing Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers, the best team that no one is supposed to beat. And you beat them back to back. They're the mammoth. They're the Mecca. It's Canada versus USA. You don't expect the Panthers to go beat the Edmonton Oilers, but what did we do? We went and beat them in back-to-back years, and we've related a lot to golf here on Florida Panthers Daily. That is what Rory McIlroy was able to do yesterday. He fell behind like the Panthers have, and you blow a 3-0 lead. You blow a lead, a 3-0 lead like the Florida Panthers did. Rory McIlroy was up 6 shots going into the weekend. He says, let's buckle up. We're going to go win this thing. And there's a lot of comparisons that I was drawing watching Rory McIlroy, watching the highlights, watching him go win his second Masters in a row. Comparisons that you can make to the Florida Panthers teams over the past 2 seasons. It really was something special. If you're a golf fan like me, if you're a hockey fan, lifting Lord Stanley and putting on the green jacket have to be 2 of the coolest feelings that I will never get to experience. But as a sports fan, you understand the magnitude. My team lifted Lord Stanley, and it felt good as a fan. I'm not a Rory McIlroy fan. I'm a Ricky Fowler fan, and I know if I watched him slide on that green jacket, it would give me about the same goosebumps, same feeling that it watched Alexander Barkov lifting up the Stanley Cup trophy. And that's why these 2 events just were so special, watching Rory McIlroy do what he did yesterday and winning his second green jacket. And then I mentioned Tortuga Music Festival. If you're from South Florida here on Florida Panthers Daily, I'm sure a lot of you are. Go ahead, drop in the comments below. What was your favorite performance? What did you hear about the event? Were you mad that the traffic was backing everything up? Because it was a blast. Whether you're there or not, you know the magnitude of this event. I keep going back to that. Your toes are in the sand. Traffic is everywhere. And the funny part that I kept relating to, so where the main stage is at Tortuga on the south end of Fort Lauderdale Beach is where the stage is the last 2 years when the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup and had their parade in that exact same spot. I was there at the parade the last 2 years on the beach watching us lift the trophy, and I was like, this has got to be the coolest feeling ever. This has got to be the best thing you can ever do on a beach. And then you go to Tortuga, and I find myself saying the same thing in the exact same spot. So whether it's country music that brings you together, whether it's hockey that brings you together, there's so much good that can happen in the South Florida community. And watching what happened on the beach, being part of it, felt like I was part of the parade again. On my social medias, AJ Sheridan Radio, I posted, I said, picture of the stage. I said, that's not Alexander Barkov. Where's he at? Every time I've been here, the last 2 times I've been here was to watch a championship parade. Instead, this time, it was to watch country music. And, well, the feeling, maybe not as good as seeing that shiny silver get lifted above our player's head, watching some country music, watching Kenny Chesney. He's living in fast forward, and that's why we're going to fast forward to next year, and it is time to do. That's why I said fast forward. Kenny Chesney said we're living in fast forward. Speaking of fast forward, let's look ahead at this week. Tonight, the Florida Panthers will be taking on the New York Rangers. That is at home. It is a 2-game homestand for the Florida Panthers to wrap up this year, and that is before the final game of the year on Wednesday night against the Detroit Red Wings at Tortuga. A lot of people from the north. I saw a lot of Rangers fans. I met a guy personally who was a Detroit Red Wings fan, and they just got eliminated. So there's 2 games this week involving 3 teams, all eliminated from the playoffs. The Panthers look to move up the lottery standings and secure that top 10 pick. We'll break down the game tomorrow versus the Rangers right here on Florida Panthers Daily because we go every single day, Monday through Friday. We couldn't do any of it without you. So go ahead, drop the subscribe button down below. If you're on Spotify, 5-star review. And until tomorrow, let's go Cats.